The fundamental irony of Portuguese imperial history is that the very achievement of creating the first global empire ensured that Portugal would be unable to maintain it. By expanding so far and so fast with such limited resources, Portugal created an empire that was inherently unsustainable, that required continuous success just to maintain, and that would collapse rapidly once conditions changed. The Portuguese demonstrated that small European powers with superior naval technology could dominate transoceanic trade, but they also demonstrated that such dominance was temporary, and that empires built on naval superiority and trade monopolies would fall to powers with more resources and more advanced economies. When Portuguese Africa finally gained independence in 1975, when the last remnants of the Portuguese Empire disappeared, except for Macau, which returned to China in 1999, it ended one of history's longest imperial experiences. From Vasco da Gama's arrival in India in 1498 to Macau's handover to China in 1999 is just over 500 years, an impressive span. But for most of those 5 centuries, the Portuguese Empire was a declining power, a collection of increasingly irrelevant enclaves maintained more by the indifference of other powers than by Portuguese strength. The first global empire lasted long, but faded early, demonstrating that being first is no guarantee of permanence, that establishing an empire is easier than maintaining one, and that empires built on temporary advantages and inadequate foundations will collapse when those advantages disappear, and when powers with greater resources and more sustainable foundations emerge to replace them. The Portuguese Empire's rise and fall is ultimately a story of a small nation that achieved greatness briefly through innovation, courage, and favorable circumstances, but that could never translate temporary advantage into permanent power because it lacked the population, resources, and economic development necessary to sustain a global empire. Portugal showed what was possible for small powers, but also showed the limits of what could be achieved without the fundamental strength to back imperial claims. The first global empire became the first to fade because being first is not enough when others can follow and do better, when temporary superiority erodes, and when the mismatch between ambitions and capabilities becomes too great to sustain. Portugal's imperial history is a 500-year demonstration that size matters, that resources matter, that economic development matters, and that empires built on foundations too narrow and too weak will crumble when challenged by rivals with broader foundations and greater strength, regardless of how impressive their initial achievements or how long they persist as fading memories of former glory.